I'm stuck in the middle of it. My name is Aspen, and I live in Richmond, Virginia with my two dim-witted brothers, my parents, and my grandparents. My parents decided that it was time that we moved west like all the other people to start fresh and get better land to plant on. I, for one, wanted to stay. I was born and raised here, and I hope to do that with my children as well. My parents packed our things despite my protest and loaded them into the wagon. My grandmother became too ill to travel with us, and my grandfather decided to keep an eye on her, so he stayed. We traveled on the wilderness road, but the journey was rough. Many of the paths we traveled on were narrow and only fit one wagon at a time. The banks were rotten, and our cattle and sheep would plunge into the raging river, and there were streams that we would need to cross, which nearly drowned them. It took many months to reach Louisville, but the land was very beautiful and the soil was very fertile. We found a great plot of land to farm on, and so we started building our house and pasture, and we plowed the land so we could start planting crops. Soon after we finished building and plowing everything, my father was called to help build better roads and bridges. I'm glad that we are finally getting better roads and bridges. The roads were often mud tracks with deep ruts that would easily tip a stagecoach. The bridges were wood and rotted very fast, making them unusable. And traveling by river was very difficult because when boats traveled back, they had to push upstream against the current. So the boatmen would use long sticks to push upstream, or they would use livestock to pull them. I lived close by a swamp, which made it hard to travel to the market. The swamp would make our wagon sink into the filthy, pungent mud, resulting in me and my family having to get out of the wagon and push it out of the mud. That only happened once, and I'm glad. My dress got caked in so much mud it took several days to clean it. It was my favorite dress, too. Now it is a much darker color, so I guess I'll have to scrub at it. I hope it gets back to its normal vibrant color. My brothers and father took many days of work to help fix the swamp problem. My mother would often send me out to give them sandwiches for lunch. I guess what they were doing was just putting logs down into the mud. They think it'll work. I'm only hoping that it will. When they finished the swamp road, it looked almost like a corduroy cloth. I guess that's why they're called corduroy roads. My mother sure was glad that they were finished. She badly wanted to go to the market, and she was acting like a small child on Christmas morning. We tried to the road, and it indeed worked. It didn't let our wagon sink. We actually stayed above land, but the ride gave me a migraine because of how bumpy it was. We got into town. I saw a new bridge that replaced the old one, but this one had a cover on the top of it. I guess to help keep the weather out, to make it so the wood doesn't rot as easy. We got our supplies at the market and went home. When we went home, there was a man at the door. It turned out he had a letter from our grandfather. He said in the letter that there had been so many people that moved west that our original 13 states had actually declined in population. He also said that grandmother is starting to get better and that they will try to travel to Kentucky to live with us again. The roads got much better in the past few weeks. There had been so much traffic in town, it is hard to get to the market and buy the supplies we need. And our small farm wagon almost got tipped over from a reckless stagecoach. We even saw an increase in livestock moving to the market to be sold. We had livestock to sell, but not very much. And it was really hard to transport our crops to other states. River transport was the fastest, but it was hard because you had to travel against the current in order to get home or to the other state, depending on where you're going. Luckily, somebody fixed that. His name was Robert Fulton, and he made the steamboat a huge success. Soon after his success, rivers were teamed with steamboats. They were good, fast transport that helped the sales a lot. My father actually let me ride one with him when he went to go sell our crops on that travel. I found out that steamboat travel is actually really dangerous. Steamboats use high-pressure boilers that help make the steam. Steamboat captains raced each other down the stream, and the boilers would sometimes explode from the pressure. Sparks from smokestacks could help kindle fires as well. On our steamboat expedition, the steamboat we were on caught fire. I don't know if it was the boiler exploding or the sparks, but it was really scary. I thought we were goners. That was the last time I went on a trip with my father. My mother wouldn't let me go with him. On the newspaper between about 1811 and 1828, about 27 steamboats collided, 123 burned, and more than 155 exploded. It is really sad to see such a beautiful invention get destroyed like this. River travel actually became faster, as well people were building canals. The governor of New York, DeWitt Clinton, got lawmakers to provide the money needed to build the Erie Canal. It was a crazy bold idea, but they started digging the canal in 1817. I followed the build of the canal in the newspaper and through my grandfather's letters. I didn't think it would get done because it had been a few years. But now, in 1825, it's finished. I can't wait until I have a farm of my own, with a husband that will take care of me so I can go on another steamboat travel through the canals and make money for my family.